Welcome back, America. You're listening to Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups, and this is a Freedom Friday special report and update. My co-host, Brandon Gallups. Brandon, thank you for being with us today.
My privilege. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's always our honor, especially when you can be in the studio. And if you're not in the studio, then the next best thing is to have you here by telephone. And it's so good to talk with you. And, of course, our world-famous producer, Mallory Bardwell. Well, listen, Brandon, let me. I want to continue this because we had a really interesting discussion going on a previous edition of Freedom Friday. And now I've come up with even more examples on how we can apply this awesome principle that you have developed. And I think it's going to be very useful in this cultural war, and that is turning headlines around. You gave an example the other day about HGTV and something that they have done and said, and how you turn that headline around. So give us that example, give us that update, then tell us about one of the very latest examples you have from the NAACP. I thought this was brilliant.
Yeah. Well, what sparked me on this was the debate over the Benham brothers and their television show that was going to be aired on HGTV and then was canceled after a socialist, liberal, communist group ran a what seemed to be negative headline against those two brothers. Now, the Benham brothers are very outspoken Christians. They have taken very public stands, particularly against the radical homosexual agenda and gay marriage, and against the act of abortion, the murdering of unborn children.
Right.
So the group Right Wing Watch ran this headline, and this is what cost the Benham brothers their upcoming television show on HGTV. The headline read this: HGTV picks anti-gay, anti-choice, extremists for new reality TV show.
Yeah, there's some hot button words there.
They are very hot button words and topics in our society. But now, think about this. That headline is 100% true. In this, the Benham brothers have been outspoken against gay marriage and against the radical homosexual agenda. Now, they themselves say, listen, we do not hate gay people. Anyone who thinks that doesn't know us. They're wrong.
Right.
But they hate the sin of homosexuality. They hate the radical homosexual agenda that's being shoved down our throats.
Right.
So by that definition, does it make them anti-gay? Yes, it does.
Right.
All right. Now, the second part of that headline, anti-choice. In other words, anti-abortion. Let's
right.
use that nasty word.
Yeah. Anti-murder of children.
Anti-murdering of unborn children.
Right.
Are the Benham brothers anti-choice?
Yeah.
Yes, it appears that they are by their own statements. Now, extremist, the word extremist. By some people's definition, would being anti-gay or anti-choice make them extremists? Yes, in today's society, absolutely it would.
Yeah.
So you see, the headline in and of itself, while it sounds sensational, is true.
Right.
So my idea was this. After this just drove me crazy for several days, flip the headline. All right, so here's what I did. I took that, and here's the headline that I ran over at ppsimmons blogspot. HGTV influenced by anti-family, pro-human sacrifice extremist group.
Right.
All right, now let's look at that.
Let's break it down.
Right Wing Watch influenced HGTV by running their negative, quote, negative headline against the Benham brothers. Did they not?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, they did. They influenced HGTV to remove that television show from their upcoming season. Now, let's look at the rest of it. Anti-family. Why would Right Wing Watch be anti-family? Well, because they support the homosexual agenda and the act of gay marriage. Now, in the true definition of a family, the historical definition of a family, of a man, woman, and children, that absolutely 100% cannot be created in a homosexual relationship. It cannot happen. That is a fact of nature. That is a fact of science. That is a fact of just observing life.
You're absolutely right, Brandon. That's a brilliant point.
All right. Now, let's look at the next thing. Now here's where it gets probably controversial for my headline. Pro-human sacrifice. All right. That I would say there would be some people that would argue with me. But listen to this. What is the act of sacrifice? Well, it just so happens that I went and looked that up on Webster's dictionary, and they define sacrifice as trading one thing for another. That's one definition of sacrifice.
Right.
So you see, when a woman chooses to have an abortion for the sake of convenience, because the child will inconvenience their life,
right,
then they have in fact traded the life of an unborn child for their convenience.
Exactly.
Okay? Now, when a woman chooses to abort a child on the recommendation of a doctor because during childbirth there may be some harm that comes to her, or she could possibly lose her life, then what has she done? She's made a decision to trade the life of her unborn child in exchange for her own life or health.
Right.
According to Webster's dictionary, that's the definition of sacrifice.
Right.
So is right-wing watch in supporting abortion, or as they would say, choice? Are they in fact pro-human sacrifice?
Absolutely.
Well, yes, they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Now, in my eyes and in the eyes of many others, them being anti-family and pro-human sacrifice, does that in fact make them an extremist group?
Yeah.
Well, yes, it does.
Absolutely.
Yes. So now, here's a headline from today. Now, this is over at Breitbart, and it says this: NAACP honors Al Sharpton as Person of the Year.
Yeah, I saw
Now,
that. I about fell out.
The NAACP. Now, they are supposed to represent civil rights in this country, okay? They are supposed to represent anti-racism, being against the act of racism. Let's take a little look at Al Sharpton's past. Number one, we found out just in the last couple of months, through some things that have come out, that Al Sharpton has in fact been an FBI informant for many years, informing against the mob. And the way that he came to be an FBI informant was, in fact, that he was caught by the FBI on the telephone making a fairly large cocaine deal. And when they approached him, threatened him with arrest and on, he agreed to then become an informant. Now, we also know that Al Sharpton has been involved in inciting racial riots and racial violence in his past. All right, one of those was the Tawana Brawley case, where this young lady claimed that these terrible injustices that I don't even want to get into were done to her by white individuals. Al Sharpton backed her in this, may have even been a part of setting this up, and it later comes out that all of it was a lie. All of it was made up and fabricated to incite racial problems in this country. So the headline should be this: Al Sharpton, NAACP honors cocaine dealing racist Al Sharpton as Person of the Year.
Yeah, a cocaine dealing racist NAACP honors, because that headline is true.
Yes, absolutely, it is true. Al Sharpton was also involved in when the new Black Panthers, the government-run new Black Panthers, put a bounty on the head of George Zimmerman during the Trayvon Martin case.
I remember that.
He was backing them in calling for that, in that action. If you or I had done that, we would be in prison. See, that's how you know for sure Al Sharpton is an FBI informant, that he works for the government.
Yeah, and back during that time, I said over the radio, I said, what if I got on the radio and called for the executions or the deaths of people who were supporting Trayvon Martin because they were racist? What if I did? They would shut down the radio. The FCC would have shut down the radio station, and I would have been in prison for hate speech. But Al Sharpton does it, and the government backs him.
Yes, yes. So just remember, look, there is an outright cultural assault, and particularly on Christianity and any values that go along with or associated with Christianity. In the fact of the Benham brothers, let's jump back to that. They took stands against things that they felt like went against their Christian beliefs, being the act of homosexuality. gay marriage, the radical homosexual agenda, the act of murdering an unborn child, of abortion, or as the nice word that is used, a woman's right to choose or choice. So the assault came against the Benham brothers for their Christianity, because their Christianity is what led them to having those beliefs, okay? And then, so when we see these headlines and they just outrageous, anybody with a computer can do this. Just flip the headline. You know, that's what I did. I flipped the headline and I sent it to HGTV, and I have basically demanded that they give us a response. Now, if they don't, then we'll take further action, and we'll show all the documents that we have showing where we did in fact send them that and ask for their response. Anyone can do this. Anybody can do this. So again, today's headline, about the NAACP needs to be NAACP honors lying, drug dealing, racist FBI informant as Person of the Year, because that's what they did. That is 100% true. That is the person that the NAACP chose to honor as their Person of the Year.
Right. Well, listen, Brandon, that's a brilliant idea. It's an amazing idea, and I know that it will catch on. And so you're leading the way in that, and I applaud you for that. I know the folks at PP Simmons News and Ministry Network are going to do it. We're going to do more and more of that right here on Freedom Friday. It's an amazing technique. But people need to understand we need to speak truthfully, and all of those words you said. Say those words again: lying, racist. What were the other words?
Lying, drug dealing, racist, FBI informant.
Right.
Those are all things that I can document.
Right.
With hardcore evidence about Al Sharpton.
I was going to say there are headline articles defining every one of those. And so you take those truthful statements, those hot button words, but you turn them around on the liberals, because that's how, that's where the war of ideas is fought, in those hot button words, in the speech that's used. And so what the liberals are trying to do is to outlaw our speech so that they can interject their, really what it is, hateful speech. But anyway,
all in the name of tolerance. The hypocrisy is all done in the name of tolerance.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brandon, keep up the good work. Every time you see these kinds of liberal hate speech, hot button topic headlines, start turning them around, putting the truthful statements in there that give our listeners and our readers a better and more truthful understanding of what's really happening. You did an excellent job with both of those. I think that's going to help people come to terms and come to grasps with what's really happening around us. And again, this goes back to, folks, you can't shirk, you can't shrink away, you can't just slink away into a dark corner because hot button words are used against us all the time. That's what they expect us to do. That's what they want us to do. That's the psyops that's their tactic. But what we have to do is stand up to it, and when we can, turn the words around. Use truthful words, but turn them around to expose them for who they really are. Right, Brandon?
That's exactly right. Very well said.
Okay. Well, Brandon Big B, thank you for being on this special edition of Freedom Friday Update. We'll have more of these coming up in the future. Brandon, I appreciate you taking time to do this with us today. Thank you for your excellent work.
Hey, my privilege. Thank you for the opportunity and for the platform to discuss these issues.
Absolutely. We're going to have you back soon. Well, folks, you've been listening to another edition of Freedom Friday Update with your host, Carl Gallups, your co-host, Brandon Big B. We'll have more of these in the future. In the meantime, may the Lord bless you and keep you.